So much on my mind, keep it all in line, juggling tasks that fall from the sky. Oh, what a scene, somewhere on this road, there is a load that's lighter for me. Show me the road that's lighter for me.
Welcome to episode 7 of the parenting series, Chaos to Calm. In this series, we look at those all too familiar family chaos moments and see how we can transform them to calm. My name is Noelle Kirshner, and I'm a minister, writer, and mother of 2 boys. I started writing a Christian parenting blog 4 years ago. I've published on numerous sites online, including the Huffington Post, the Today Show Parenting Team, Mamapedia, and Crosswalk.com. What is particularly appealing to me is exploring how faith can inform those everyday decisions that we make as parents. Faith can help us make wiser choices that can bring true fulfillment. Today's topic is the calm of connection. Finding meaningful connection is essential to help us move from chaos to calm. Unfortunately, it's often rare in our fast-paced digital age. The church is one place where important relationships can happen. We're going to explore how the church can partner with parents to not only provide supportive community, but valuable education that stretches well beyond simple religious training. I'll be interviewing several staff members from the church where I serve as parish associate, Central Presbyterian Church in Summit. Whether you are local or not, whether you attend a church or not, I hope you will feel inspired to consider a deeper connection with one in your life. Those of you who are familiar with this series know that I like to share pictures. In honor of this episode, I wanted to share a couple of chaos shots from the church. Our first one is from Palm Sunday. Every parent knows the chaos of waving palms on that Sunday. This year, my older son turned his into a lasso. Our second picture typifies the chaos of a good vacation Bible school program. I always say, the messier, the better. Our calm shots will appear in coordination with my guests and the work they are doing at the church. So let's get started. My first guests are the 2 full-time pastors at Central Presbyterian Church. Don Steele has been the senior pastor there for over 4 years. He has also served as the president of the Summit Interfaith Council and for over 15 years as the president of the board of directors for Beyond Borders. Deborah Huggins serves as associate pastor at Central. She holds a master's degree in elementary education and is a PhD candidate. She is also a national disability consultant for the Presbyterian denomination. Welcome, Don and Deborah.
Hi.
Great to be here.
It's wonderful to have you here. Since we have a lot of ground to cover today, I wanted to start with you, Don.
Great.
My first question is, what is an often overlooked but important benefit of a church connection for families?
You know, I think as parents, I think one of the things that we're interested in is raising children who are really well-grounded human beings. And we want our kids to appreciate beauty. We want them to treat others kindly and with compassion. We'd like them to care for their community and for the world around them. And I actually think the church is an excellent partner for parents in helping to provide that kind of grounding for their kids.
Mm-hmm. So it's almost like a character formation partner.
Absolutely. I think that the church can provide experiences where kids can form character of the sort that makes them well-rounded as human beings and contributing parts of our society.
Mm-hmm. So it's not always about the resume and the activities, it's about a long-term growth trajectory that we're looking for in our children.
Absolutely. I think that what we want is for our children to know the fullness of life. Of course, that does include good schools and good jobs, but also includes their character as human beings.
Mm-hmm. Can you think of one character building moment in your own church experience that impacted you and kind of did what you're describing?
Sure. Shortly after I graduated from seminary, I had the opportunity through an association with Dr. Tony Campolo, who is this wild Baptist preacher who teaches at Eastern University in Philadelphia. I had an opportunity to visit Haiti. And one of the things that we did while we were in Haiti was that we went to an infant nutrition center in Port-au-Prince, which is Haiti's capital. It was run by Mother Teresa's order, the Missionaries of Charity.
Wow.
And we spent the afternoon feeding little kids. It was eerie, I tell you, Noelle, because that place was so quiet, and yet there were several hundred kids in there who were just so weak from the malnutrition that they couldn't make a sound.
Oh, I
And
can't
so
imagine.
as we fed those kids, this one little girl, she grabs my fingers tightly, and she held onto them the entire time I was there. In many ways, I've often thought, she's never let go. She's held onto my fingers ever since. Because that experience really changed me and changed how I saw the world around me, so much so that when I came back and Dr. Campolo asked if I would be the founding president of Beyond Borders, which was an organization that's engaged in education in Haiti, I said yes. And part of what we did was construct a travel program for people from the United States to go to Haiti and have similar kinds of encounters to the one I had, with the idea that this would shape their character and transform how they looked at the world around them.
Definitely, it would provide them with the gratitude that we'd like to foster for our blessings that we have, but hopefully a motivation to want to touch the lives of others as well. It's really a transformational moment, is what I hear you saying.
Absolutely, and it relates to a professor I had when I was years ago a student at Princeton Seminary, who Dr. James Loader, who talked about how it is that in the church we can actually create moments where people can have a kind of a transforming experience where their perspectives start to change and their character starts to form to be caring for others and caring for the world around them as Christ would lead us to be.
Mm-hmm. I can think of no better goal, honestly. What is Central doing these days to try to provide families with those same ideas or moments?
Well, I think that at Central we recognize, of course, everybody's not going to get to Haiti and have an experience like that.
Right.
But we are trying to create opportunities for those experiences to happen for families here at Central. So, for instance, we host homeless families several times a year through the organization Family Promise. And when those families are staying with us here in the building, our families, members of our church, are able to have encounters with those families. Children from our church are able to play with children who just so happen to be at a place in life where they don't have a place to call home. For years, Central has been involved in providing tutoring for children from Elizabethport, a poor neighborhood in Elizabeth, New Jersey. Those children come to Central Church, and high school students from all around Summit come as well, and they tutor those small children. And so again, have an opportunity to build a relationship with those children. And Central also has just recently become an active participant in a ministry called Midnight Run. And so what happens here is that you'll see kids here preparing food to take into Manhattan for homeless folks in Manhattan, folks living on the streets of Manhattan. And the high school kids then come and they take that food in with adult supervision and then have encounters with those men and women who live on the streets of Manhattan. All of those are attempts to have these encounters where people can cross over a border, move beyond the borders that sometimes keep us confined, encounter another human being, lend a hand to help, and in the process find their own perspectives transformed and changed, their own character grounded in a way that creates caring and compassion.
You know, this episode is about connection, and what I hear you saying is creating those moments fosters a relationship. It's not just something that we do, it's a place where we are, and we're giving of our time and our attention, and really seeking to know better the other.
Yes, and I think the relationships that form are the key. I hope, that people here through some of these encounters will have the same kind of experience I had in that infant nutrition center. Somebody will grab hold of them and they'll find that they keep a hold of them in a way for the rest of their lives, kind of leading them through to be a person who cares, a person who wants to show compassion.
Thank you so much, Don. I can't, again, think of a more worthy goal than that.
No, thanks.
Deborah, you just heard me talk with Don about character formation, and I'm wondering, how does your ministry echo that same kind of principle, but perhaps in a different way?
I really appreciate what you had to say about fostering those transformational moments. And I think it's such an important part of what we can do in terms of nurturing young people in the church. I actually began my ministry in the classroom. I was a classroom teacher working with children who are at risk for all kinds of different reasons, children with disabilities, children who faced all kinds of different challenges in their lives. And in my work in the classroom and in my education, I started learning more and more about resiliency. These were ways to help children to overcome. You can't fix a disability. You can only teach someone the skills that they need to embrace disability as part of their identity and to live a life that's full and rich. And so learning about resiliency is a really important way to look at the kind of transformation that we can foster really in any kid. And so I started reading a lot of work around resiliency, and I came across this model called the Circle of Courage. It comes out of a Native American background, and it talks about belonging, mastery, independence, and responsibility, and generosity. And the more that I started in this work and the more I started working with families, I started to see that as a school teacher I was limited, but in my work in my local church, that was where I could reach across time, I could reach across family relationships, community centers and partners, and I could really start to build in those 4 areas of life for children. I could really start to find places for kids to express generosity. I could help kids develop a sense of responsibility and independence, whether it was lighting the candle on a Sunday morning, reading the scripture in front of a whole congregation of people, or planning a trip or an event. We could really give kids access to real responsibility and independence. And right along with that mastery, helping kids connect to their passions, finding mentors, finding relationships in the church that were really authentic relationships that could happen over time and space, much less confining than the classroom. And then looking at ways for children to really belong as children of God, to belong in a community where people really do not only know their names, but who have watched them since they were knee-high to a grasshopper and watched them grow to taller than their mothers.
You have some experience with that?
I do. But where the church knows them and loves them, and where they can really belong, where they can experiment, and where they can really grow in these areas. And where, yes, it's the transformational moment, but I would argue when it also comes to everything that the church can offer to the developing child, that we really can get into every aspect of their lives and lives of their families to include and to increase their resiliency and their belonging in an institution that I think really does help to make the world a better place, in part by acknowledging that children are children of God.
Mm-hmm. There's a very inclusive nature to what I hear you say. Yeah. There's growth in potential for resiliency in all children here at the church. So can you give me an example of something that your ministry does to basically take these principles and connect them to practical action? What programs do you foster?
Well, I think that we look to foster all four of these principles in everything that we do. We really work hard to help children engage with where they're passionate, and whether that happens in our music program or whether that happens in working in the community and issues of homelessness, connecting with children. We work hard in all areas of our life to do that. Some of the things that I think are especially exciting is we've been partnering recently with the YMCA, with local churches, especially Wallace Chapel here in Summit, and we're working to provide opportunities for all kids to experience service. One of the things that we found out in our Elizabethport tutorial program is that kids from private schools have a whole component of service learning, but kids in public schools, even if they have need for service hours, don't have the same kind of cultivated service opportunities. And so we wanted to create service opportunities for kids. And so every Friday at Central, we have a wonderful group of kids who comes to the church, and we either stay in the church and do service or go out into the community and work to not only help to dig gardens and build things, but also to help teach children that they have the skills and mastery they need to do good work, that they can be generous, that they can be responsible in changing things, and that they have the sense of belonging of doing it together, that they're part of something really real.
I hear that character formation echoed in what you're saying. Thank you so much, Deborah.
Absolutely.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Don argues that by fostering transformational moments, people can go from simply doing service to living it. The church can make those meaningful character-building moments possible. From her work with at-risk children, Deborah learned the important characteristics of inclusion. The church is one place where these kind of healthy, formative connections can happen. My final two guests lead the music ministry at Central. Charity Wicks is the director of music ministries. She serves as the organist, leads choirs of all ages, and produces concerts. She has her doctorate in piano accompanying from the Manhattan School of Music and currently performs on Broadway. Adam Gilbert is the Youth and Contemporary Music Coordinator and the founder and music director of the Central Arts Academy. As a singer-songwriter, he has his own Pandora station and will be releasing his third album this spring. As a music video director, his most recent video was shown at the Manhattan Film Festival. Welcome, Charity and Adam.
Thanks, Noelle.
It's a delight to have you both here with me. And Charity, I wanted to start with you. In the last segment, I talked about the importance of character building at the church. Can you tell me, what vein of this does your ministry echo? How do you character build at Central?
I feel like one of the most important things to me that I bring to Central, that I try to bring to Central, is diversity and inclusion. So all the groups that I foster weekly, the choirs and the youth, the children's choir, and the extra outreach events that we do musically, I try to make them as diverse and inclusive as possible. Part of it is because of my musical background. I have a musical background that you sort of mentioned in my bio that sort of is diverse. I work on Broadway, I do shows of all kinds of different natures, and I also do classical music and chamber music. And so every day I have different experiences with people of different cultures, with people of different backgrounds, and that just informs me as a human being. And I take that information and those experiences and I want to bring them to Central Church in a way that I can perhaps show people here other ways to think about things through music. We do spirituals, we do different kinds of music. We did a bluegrass mass last year, something that perhaps was not familiar to most people around here, but it brought that culture to us through the form of music.
Amazing.
So that's one of the needs that I try to fill, so that we can look at the world and see the diversity that it offers and try to understand it a little bit better.
I think especially with Summit itself being a diverse community, we want the church to echo the community in which it exists, right? We don't want it to be one people, because certainly God's church is many, many different kinds of people coming together to worship. And I love the diversity that you're talking about, particularly because I think it's a very big need. Coming together, having that moment for reconciliation. I mean, you just turn on the news and it's really hard to hear sometimes what's happening. So for families who are looking for this kind of experience and frankly this kind of healing, can you give me specific examples of events that you do that they could be a part of?
Yes, we do a couple different things throughout the year. Every Martin Luther King, the Sunday right before Martin Luther King Jr. Day, we have a joint service with Wallace Chapel and with Fountain Baptist, the two traditionally Black churches in the community. And so we gather together and we celebrate the great work that Martin Luther King Jr. did. Spinning off of that, last year we did a gospel concert together with Fountain Baptist Church, and we presented it at the high school, and we spent months rehearsing and getting ready for this, and we did sort of a gospel take on some traditional Handel's Messiah pieces and some other things, but it was a really, really fun and great way to come together as a community, to experience each other's music, sort of what is in our genetics as people musically, and it was a really great way to share. We also have the Vacation Bible School where we join with a number of churches in the community. They all gather in the summer, and the kids, the children, we learn various kinds of music for that too. And it's really great to see kids of all backgrounds, all kinds of, coming from all kinds of different scenarios, and coming together and singing music, and none of that matters. Where they come from, how much money they have, how much money they don't have, none of that matters. It's really about music and friendship. And so it's really great to foster that kind of relationship.
What a powerful example. I think music is one of those things that can cross boundaries so easily. It's very fluid.
For sure.
And using it as a tool is what I hear you saying, to really character build and to bring healing to the community is, I think, something that is very admirable that the church is doing. Thank you so much, Charity.
My pleasure.
Adam, picking up on what Charity is doing, I know you also do music ministry, but you do it in a different vein. So I'm wondering, what specific character building traits does your ministry kind of tap into?
Sure. Well, we have a lot of different programs here, as you heard from Charity, and the ones I oversee, the youth ones are the middle school youth group as far as the music goes, and then the high school. And it's an opportunity for them to do music together in a non-traditional setting, and it helps them build confidence, also helps them have a creative outlet for expression, and then develops their character, and then ultimately gives them a sense of joy in their lives, and that joy is infectious, as they leave this place, and that can affect their friends and the people they're around. Also, we have the adult praise band that serves as another outlet for adults to play music in a service, and sometimes they're in their 10 o'clock traditional worship service. And they're always present at the Wave service, which is our contemporary service here at Central. But it serves for them as an outlet. Sometimes New Jersey and New York can be a grind, and it's a way for them to express themselves musically and then in a worship setting, so it's kind of the best of both worlds for them. And then we also have, like you said, it's been 1 year in existence, the Central Arts Academy, which is a little bit more personal. It's a one-on-one relationship you're building, and it's music education, private instruction. And you'll get people who just want to play the piano, or who are interested in Broadway singing or classical singing or pop singing or songwriting. And it's a way to really develop a personal relationship, and you almost become more than a music teacher with that person, where you become a mentor and a friend for life. And we're also excited that as outreach and talking about diversity, we have a couple of things that are happening for the fall, where we're going to be offering at the Central Arts Academy group acting classes.
Wow.
So yeah, we're going to be doing a partnership with the YMCA, which is right across the street.
Okay.
And we're going to start with middle school kids after school activities and group acting classes, which really helps kids grow in confidence and in public speaking. Acting can go a long way in personal growth. And I heard Pastor Deborah Huggins mentioned Elizabethport earlier, and that's something we're also trying to include with the group acting classes when the kids come out for Elizabethport. Maybe some days we can have them involved with the group acting classes, or it can be they can come out just for the group acting classes at Central Arts Academy. So, and that offers a lot of diversity here at Central as well.
So I hear you talking about performance opportunities, education opportunities, diversity opportunities. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's busy. Yeah.
But I think it's important because as much as you're emphasizing how it can affect a child's confidence, or even an adult's confidence for that matter, getting up and performing, I think oftentimes the arts can fall through the cracks in education. I think, you know, I'm raising 2 boys. This area is very sports focused. A lot of times music, arts, they slip through the cracks. I think that can also happen in you know, school systems. Maybe they don't get as much funding. So having a place that children can dependably go to form those relationships, to get instruction, but to also find expression. I mean, that's part of, in my mind, the healing that needs to take place as people are coming to learn who their voice is and be equipped to take that voice to the world.
Yeah, speaking from a personal note, I mean, I grew up, you know, playing sports and being in musicals, but I felt my biggest personal growth was playing and singing in a church from a young age. Not only musically did I grow, but in what I was learning from the church and the way I would think about things and approach things, it really drastically changed me. So in our all busy schedules, I think it's great for whether it's youth or adults to give back musically in a church setting, and they'll learn a lot from themselves in doing so. I mean, I've been doing this for a little while, and I still learn a ton when I'm singing in church about myself and how what I'm doing really affects other people. So if I feel that, then I know the youth is going to feel the same thing, and so are the adults if they're expressing themselves in a music setting or an acting setting.
So you experienced that transformation and now you're offering it to others. And you also wrote the introduction to the show, by the way. I should note for our listeners, you wrote the music and you performed it, and we're just so grateful for both of your gifts in this community. Thank you so much, Adam and Charity.
Thank you, Noah.
Thank you.
By empowering children through the arts and modeling reconciliation, important learning and healing can take place in the church. Church Connection is not simply about religious training. It's about finding support for the kind of world we want to see and the kind of people we want our children to become. I hope you've enjoyed this season's final episode of Chaos to Calm. I encourage you to visit my website at www.noelkirschner.com to find further inspiration this summer. You will also find out information about my new book projects there. The Presbyterian denomination has just contracted me to write a book for their best-selling Being Reformed workbook series. The book will be an interactive discernment tool to help people live more fully into God's plan for their lives. It will be forthcoming in 2018. Coming later this year, however, will be a 31-day devotional ebook for parents looking to move from chaos to calm. So until next time, may calm be with you.